again, we can't cover everything in minute detail, so we're going to go through it, but remember that you're going to have to get in there and play with it yourselves, and there is help, and please call our help desk if you get stuck. So to get to your contacts and prospects, you're going to click on the contacts menu and click on contacts and prospects, and all your contacts should be there. We did convert them from matrix. One thing you have to be aware of is we also converted your saved searches. However, because matrix is very different than Rapattoni, we could only convert the core fields. So if you were doing searches for your clients that were, you know, area, beds, baths, you're fine. If you were drilling down to Korean countertops, it's probably not going to be correct. You're going to have to go into your each of those searches and verify that the criteria is as it should be, and I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. So before we get into to explain what this screen is, the easiest way to explain it is to start off by creating a new contact. So we're going to click on that create new contact, and you give your contact a name. Pretty straightforward. We won't cover everything here, but I just want to point out that anything that shows in red with an asterisk is a required field, so you have to fill in those fields. There's only a couple of them. One of the required fields is called groups. In our system, you attach a contact to a group. It's like a category. We defaulted to a group called prospects. Once you start playing with the system, you might want to create your own groups. Like, for example, you might want to break it up to international buyers versus, you know, local, whatever. So we're just defaulting it to prospects. And then you put in their email address, their phone numbers, etc. Now, did you want to check that for a minute? So if you were just creating a standard contact record, that's it, you're done. You would get out of there. Now, if this happens to be a buyer, so they're actually a prospect, you want to check this box here that says manage as prospect. When you do that, it's now going to ask you questions about auto emailing, etc. In fact, the first question it asks you for, you see there's a new section comes up, is auto prospecting. In our system, that's auto emailing. So it's basically asking you, do you want to do that or not? So we're going to say yes. When you choose that, it's going to ask you how often you want your emails to go out. And your choices are immediately. If you check that, it's pretty straightforward. It means as soon as the listing comes on the MLS that matches what my client's looking for, send out a notification. Daily, you can send it every day, every couple of days. Weekly, allows you to pick what days of the week you want. There's also a time of day too, by the way. And the last one is monthly. The only time you might want to do monthly is if you're going to, like a lot of agents will, once they've sold somebody a listing, they'll now change the search criteria maybe to be a radius around that listing, and then maybe once every 3 months you send an email out to your client saying, hey, by the way, just what you want to know what's going on in the area. Keeps you in front of them. So that's just an example where you might have a monthly version. There's a start and end date. It automatically starts today, but you can change that. So if I'm doing this for real, maybe I want a day to get everything organized. I'm going to say start sending these out tomorrow. So I'll change my from. We defaulted to a year out. Now, hopefully, you won't be working with that prospect for a year, but you never know. You can change that at any time. And if it comes to the stage where you're still actively working with that client and it's getting close to the expiration date, you will be notified. And then you choose your frequency. So we're going to choose immediate and hit save. Okay. Now, when you're working with clients, there's two ways you can do it. You can just email them, where you just send them a list of new listings, and it's just by email and that's it. If you have a client that's very computer literate, you might want to give them their own client portal. So you may have different options depending on the client. A client portal is a link that your client can use to get in and view their own listings, okay? So the first question is about the emailing option. If you're sending emails out to your client, do you want to receive them too? So the first one is, do you want to email to the agent? Then your answer, and the options are yes, as a daily summary, or no, I want to get the emails the same time my prospect gets them, and that's using the prospect schedule. So we're going to click on prospect schedule, which is telling the system Every time a listing comes on and immediately goes to my client, send me an email as well. You also have a choice of what types of changes you want to see. You want to see newly matched, obviously. Do you also want to see price changes or status changes for listings that match your client? So your client may have already seen these listings. Do you want to be notified when there's a price change or a status change? The last question there is, are you interested in seeing price and status changes for listings your client has rejected? We're going to cover that a little bit later. There is a use case for maybe wanting to do that. So for now, we'll just leave it checked and we'll talk about that again. The next question is, okay, what do you want to email your prospect? So we'll say, yes, we want to email them. And in this case, I don't really want my prospect to get status changes. I'm choosing newly matched and price changes. So you have a choice there. If you have a CC email address, you can choose to turn that on, and that means both the to and the CC will get emailed. And now you can choose what report format you want those emails to go out in. Okay. Now the report format only comes into play if you're not doing a client portal. So this is whatever view, and you can choose it. If you needed to change your frequency for your auto emailing, you can click here and do so. Now the next question is, do you want a client portal? And in this case we do. I'm going to say, yeah, my client is computer savvy, I want them to have their own link. So you turn that on, and there's a question here that asks, do you want your client to be able to run their own searches? So they're going to get a link to their own little website where they can look at all the newly matched listings. Do you want them to also be able to run their own searches? You can turn that on or off. We'll leave it on for now. The next area refers to the cart. It's called cart maintenance. We talked earlier on about clicking on listings and adding them to a cart. When you're running auto prospecting, you're basically saving those listings to a cart, but the carts are attached to your prospects. Okay, so each prospect has their own cart. This cart maintenance refers to that cart, and it's to do with keeping that cart up to date. Do not confuse this with search criteria. There's a list of statuses in there. What this is referring to, when you're sending out listings to your client, generally speaking, you'd be looking for active listings. If you're working with a client for several weeks, several months, there's a good chance that some of the listings you've sent to them are now no longer active because they've gone under contract or they've sold. They're sitting in their client portal. Do you want your clients seeing those listings if they're no longer viable? In other words, you know, that listing's under contract, so you can tell the system to only keep listings of a certain status in the cart. It just ensures you're not keeping stale data in your client's cart. Now, there is an argument for leaving it all in there and just letting them know you didn't move fast enough on those listings, but that's up to you. Okay, so that's what that refers to. And then the last thing we'll just point out at the bottom is relating, if you've set them up with the client portal, you can get emailed about what they've been doing in the client portal. What have your clients been up to? Okay, so this would send you an activity report, and you can do it either hourly or daily. All right, once you've set that up, we've put in all of our options. Now we hit save. Now it's going to prompt you to put in your search criteria. What are you looking for this client? You can choose from any of the searches, including the map search. We're just going to choose the standard search. And you should give it a name. The reason we ask for a name is you could have multiple searches attached to one client. So an example might be that they're looking for a single family home, but if it was in this particular complex over here, they consider a condo. So you might have a condo search and a single family home search going on at the same time. So you give it a name, that way you can make a distinction. All right, let's go ahead and we'll put in some search criteria. So let's look for Middlesex County and between 350,000 and 400,000, and they're looking for at least, let's see if we can find 6 bedrooms. Do they have? They've got a big family and they're looking for 6 bedrooms. Do we get any listings if we do that? 2 listings. Well, let's do 5 bedrooms. There we go. 16 listings. That's perfect. So now we'll view the results. So now we can see that currently on the MLS there are 16 listings that match what this client is looking for. And it tells you that. If this came up with 1,016, you might want to revise your criteria down. But that's fine, we've got 16, so let's go and have a look at them. Now, it's actually prompting me now to send out the invitation for the client portal, but I'm not quite ready to do that. This is optional, but I want to clean up these listings before I start my client looking at them. So I'm going to say send later. I'll just get that out of the way, and let's look at these listings and see what we want to do with them, because I happen to know that these two listings here, I already showed my client those listings and they liked them. So I'm going to check both of them off and I'm going to save them. This is your client's cart, but it's divided into 4 folders: newly matched, agent recommended, saved and rejected. And there's a little move option here. I'm going to move those to the saved column because my client's already seen them and they like them, so we'll put them in the saved column. Now I happen to know that they really didn't like this one here when I showed it to them, so I'm going to reject that listing. Okay, I'm going to move that to rejected. And then there's a listing on here that I particularly want to draw their attention to, so I'm going to check it and I'm going to move it to the agent recommended box. So this is how you can clean up the cart. When they get their client portal, they'll have those 4 folders and they can see what's in them. Now the rejected, why would you reject it and not just delete it? Because you could technically delete this listing out of here. The reason you don't want to do that is because it still qualifies. So if you delete it, the next time the system does auto prospecting, it's going to find that listing and send it out again because it matches their criteria, but you happen to know there's something about it that doesn't work. If you put it in the rejected folder, the system knows they've already sent that listing out and it won't resend it. So that's the reason you want to use rejected, okay? Once you've got this cleaned up, now this is good. The ones I've showed her are already been saved. The ones they didn't like, I've rejected. I've recommended. The rest I'd like her to see. So I leave them in newly matched. So if you click on the client portal button at the top, this is where now I can send my invitation. Before I do that, let's preview the client portal. What is this going to look like when my client gets it? So if you click here, you are now looking at that client, that prospect cart from the prospects view. It's exactly the same data we were just looking at, it's just presented in a client format. So here's the 12 newly matched listings. If I click over here, it'll bring up the agent recommended listing. There's her saved listings and the rejected one. So this is what your client sees. When they get this email, they're going to go through this and have a look at those listings. They can look at the details. If they click on the details button, it'll take them to the full details for this listing. And they can do several things. They can go through, view it, they can look at the pictures. If they click on that, it'll bring up the big pictures, etc. And then they can save or reject. So they can look at all their newly matched listings and save and reject them accordingly. Okay, and just work our way through them. We're not going to do this, but they also have your client has the capability of creating a comment. If they click that button, they can type in a message, and when they post it, you will automatically get an email. It's a way of them communicating with you from the client portal, and then when you get that email and you answer back, they will get a comment that will show up in their comments box so that they know that you're communicating back to them. And I'll show you an example of that a little later on. So this is basically, like I said, what the client sees. Remember we talked about allowing them to search. If you allow them to do their own searches, there is a new search button. We don't have to cover that one. And then we've got the contact agent. So I'm happy with what it looks like. I'm going to send out the client invitation. So let's close that. And the next option was send out the invitation. And we'll go ahead and send it out. This again, what shows up here, you can set up your own messages under that preferences thing I showed you earlier on. It'll let you do all that ahead of time. So now when this goes out, your client will get an email with this message and a link. And when they click the link, they're going to see that client portal. Okay?
So quick question. You said you could have multiple searches, like let's say a townhouse in a certain area and a single family. How do you combine those two? And
I'll show it to you in a minute, okay? Can we go back into the client portal for just one moment? Okay, I only have one set of listings here, but if I had set up, see where it says all searches? If I had multiple, it would show all the different searches that I'd set up for them. That's how the client could see them. It defaults to both together, but I'll show you how to set up multiple ones in a minute, okay? Right now we just have a single search set up. Okay, so we've sent out our email, and that's great. Now let's go back to our client contacts and prospects page. So now this should start making more sense. So our new contact, I think you added a new contact, they're in there now. Now let's see what we're looking at here. So when you come in here, you're going to see all your contacts. We did import them all, okay, so they're all there. Going from left to right, if you click on their name, you're going to go into their contact record. We'll come back to that in a moment. This little information button, let's do it on a header coder. If you just quickly want to see their phone number or their email address, you can just bring that up. Now I already attached a search. If I wanted to attach another search, I can click this button right here and that will allow them to attach another search. Then we have our prospect cart. So now what you're looking at, remember that cart? Here's everybody's newly matched, how many listings they have in newly matched, how many listings they have in their agent recommended, how many listings they have in their saved, and how many in their rejected. And I can click on them to see those listings. There's a little color code down here that tells you what those mean. So that's just showing you at a glance what you've got for those clients. Next one over tells me whether or not I've set them up with auto emailing or client portal. So if I see just a C, purple C, or a white C on a purple background, that means I've set them up with a client portal, but I am not auto emailing them. I'm manually sending the listings to them. If it's an A by itself, it means I do have them set up for auto emailing, but I'm sending them reports. I didn't give them their own portal. If you see a C and an A, you've set them up with the client portal and the system is automatically emailing them. That's all that means. And if you click on that button, it'll open up the client's view. So if you're on the phone with them and you want to see what they're looking at, you can just click that button there and now you're looking at it the way they're looking at it.
So our contacts that were on email alerts earlier on Matrix, when they switched over to Rapattoni, are they still getting emails?
No, they're not.
So
I'll talk about that in a moment.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll talk about that in a moment. Let me just finish explaining this and then I'll get right back to that. The next area here, the next column here, tells the system when you sent out the invitation to the client portal, and the next button is very important. This is the activity. You can see at a glance which of your clients are active and which ones are not. If you see this little bubble here, it's got a date and a time. That tells you the last time that client was in their client portal. That's the last time they went into it. If it's green, it means they've been in there at least once in the last 7 days. If it's yellow, the last time they were in there was over a week ago, but less than a month ago. And if it's red, they have not been in there for over 31 days. So when you see red, you probably should get on the phone to them because they're not looking at their client portal.